Hello and welcome to another episode of Table Talk with
Kathleen Mercury.
the Viking and
King.
you are
Yeah. And the Warman.
the Warman?
The German.
The German guy.
Very German.
Greetings. Or should I say man?
Yes. Yes.
So today we are talking about something that has a little bit of a relationship with Vikings and Germans. CVlizations.
Yes.
CVlizations is from Granna, and here in the United States from Passport Game Studios. So, who wants to make the rules?
I'll do the rules.
That sounds so good in my ears. Okay, Kathleen, take over, and we are doing the rules.
Ja, doch. CVlizations is a game that is played in 3 different rounds. The handy-dandy little cards can give you an idea of what happens. Each player has 8 cards, and each player in turn chooses, starting with the first player, 1 card to play face up and 1 card to play face down. Once every player has made their choices, the start player flips over their cards, and then and everyone else flips over their cards, and you take your actions. Now the trick with this game is how many people play the cards. As you can see, if one person plays, for example, thieving, the first card to go, if one person plays thieving, then they can steal 1 resource, and then there's a different action for 2. But if 3 or more take the cards, generally speaking, you either get nothing or you get a very little return on your investment. And the cards go in order every single time. So thieving, where you steal, these 3 allow you to just gain additional resources. Cunning allows you to gain any resource. Slacking allows you to take victory points. Trading is when you can convert resources and hopefully get a better rate of return, 1 for 2, 1 for 3. And finally, doubling is a special card. It does what it says. If 1 or 2 people play it, then you get to play whatever action that you did for your first card. You can then take that action twice. So especially with thieving, that can be nice. You can just rob everybody blind. Once everyone has played their cards in order, then we go to the development phase with these idea cards. This deck of cards is used in the first round and in the second round. And in the third round, this smaller deck comes out. You can see here from these cards, there's different types of items available, and they range, they're relatively cheap in this first round where they only need 2, maybe 3 resources at the most. But either case, and then they have little points. They also have little actions that you can use to maximize your collection of resources, conversion of resources, getting points as the game progresses. Once you've gone through the first round, in the second round, then the second deck comes out. These are much more expensive cards, I guess, especially being a civilization sort of theme. Much more expensive, but you can see that in terms of the little smiley face points, they're worth a lot more points in the last round of the game. Now, one thing to have of note, there's only 4 cards even in a 5-player game. So, if you are the 5th player in the round, it's a very good possibility that you won't be able to buy anything, which you can see here. Feminism takes a little bit of everything, postmodern megalopolises, and of course, our favorite board games. So, after 3 rounds, you total up points from the smiley faces on your cards, any points you've managed to collect along the way through the slacking card, and then finally any sort of endgame scoring cards you got on your idea cards, and that is CVlizations.
Thanks so much. You are the best teacher, you know that, right?
I do.
And all of your students sing that every single day?
I tell them that every single day, yes.
But they are agreeing or not?
They know to agree with me.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Okay, good. Let's talk about the quality and the components. So, first of all, up front, I think that from the price range and from the price point, this is not a very expensive game.
How much is it?
I would guess 39, maybe 35.
I would say for 30. But if it's more than that, I might think it's a little overpriced. I mean, it's a solid game, I think, but... Okay,
maybe. You can look it up, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the quality of the components is so-so. In my opinion, for a low-price game, it's completely okay. Mm-hmm. This is wood, that's okay. There's a little 3 resources. The crown looks cool, the Viking helmet looks cool. However, the victory point, the smiley, that is just
garbage. It's like a throwaway. I mean, it's really, and even...
That's strong,
right? Right. And the thing, too, is, it's only happened once, maybe twice, where we've actually run out of resources. But it seemed, and that's in a 5-player game. So, but if they'd only had a few more of these wooden pieces,
nice.
we would not have had to, run them, for them to run out. And I think it might be kind of interesting if they were sort of finite, maybe just as a different way to play, because otherwise there's a ×3 token, and again it's just like a little crappy piece of wood too. So I'm not really a fan of those, because especially if they had 3 pictures of the resource on it, so if they had a ×3 for the stone, for the cheese, for the wood, because then you could just take the ×3 and put it on top of it. But as it is, you had to take the ×3 and then put the token on the chit, so it's then it's just basically like a +2 instead of a ×3. Little stupid things like that.
That's true.
And I do like that the board is on the smaller side, especially as the game goes on. When people are building out their tableau of their idea cards and then playing their cards and their resources, you really do need a good amount of table space, especially if you're playing with 4 or 5 players. So the smaller board makes a lot of sense.
Oh, the size of the board is perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's probably even a little bit too big. I don't know. That could be even smaller. But the quality of the board is also good. I mean, board and wooden components, nothing really wrong with that. The smiley tokens or victory point tokens, this ×3, they are quoting Kathleen, garbage.
Yeah.
And the card stock, I don't like the card stock. So for a card game, you take the cards a lot of, and you play them, and you have them always in your hand. It's not as good as it could be and should be, in my opinion.
Well, and these are a little bit longer than your standard playing cards, right?
It looks like, yes.
I think so. And I think, if anything else, if you're going to have not so great card stock, then at least make them standard size so they could sleeve them if you really wanted to.
But I'm pretty sure you can find sleeves for that.
No, I'm sure you can, but if it's a standard sleeve, it's a lot easier than something that's a little bit longer or whatever else. Yes, you can find them. The insert, though, is nice. There's a good custom insert for it to keep everything in there nice and tidy. That's nice. I always like a good insert, Otherwise... and the artwork is pretty cute, too, I have to say.
Yeah.
So the card stock's not so great, fine, but the artwork is adorable. The look of the game is really cute for what it is.
And one thing that I want to mention, there are only two cheat sheet cards in it. Why not 5? I don't know. For a 2 to 5 player game, I don't know, but just to mention it. It's not a big deal. The rules are so easy that you don't need that. But if you put cheat sheet cards in it, why not for everybody one? I don't see why.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that was a lot of critics already. For the game and the mechanic and the flow of the game, do you have any critics? Do you want to, if you could, change something?
We talked about this, and one thing that I think about the game is I really like it for what it is. I think, depending on your audience, if you had a bunch of really hardcore gamers and you wanted to sit down and really sink your teeth into something, this is not the game for you. This is a good beginner game for people who are just kind of starting to get involved in our world. I think this is a good game for kids. I think it says 10, but I think if you've got kids who've played games, that this is something that they could learn. It might be a struggle at first, but I think it's simple enough with relatively, only 3 different types of resources, only 8 different cards to play with. I think this is something that kids could do as a way to learn how to plan, as a way to learn how to try to anticipate what other people are doing, or as a way to have to deal with it when you want to do something and you're basically blocked from doing that. And so I think there's a lot of things in this game that are really good for kids when it comes to learning and playing games. And honestly, to me, it's just one of those games that manages to have a really good game feel, when you're playing it feels good, everything's just kind of clicking, nothing's taking too long, nothing's taking too short. This is not going to replace a lot of really good games in your collection, but I think this is one that's good to add if you're wanting to find something that has a good intro kind of Euro feel to it.
I'm completely in your wheelhouse. It's
because I'm a Viking.
And you're intimidating me, or what is it? Thing of being a white. Anyway, I think 45 minutes for the game is really good, and as you said, all of the things you get out of these cards are positive, so all of that makes you feeling some sort of special. Oh, I got this cool stuff, and even if it's not a big deal, it feels cool. It's a really good feeling game, and it does not really replace the game. I agree on that too. For me, it's also a really cool gateway game. Not only just for kids, also for non-gamers. So if you have friends and you wanted to take the next step and you wanted to have an alternative to Ticket to Ride or something else because you played it 500 million times, I think that is a pretty good one. It fits in almost every little box. You can take it with you. You don't even need the big box. I mean, these are all the components you can see here on the table. I know it's a little bit, the angle is... Anyway, so you can take that almost everywhere except for probably a bar. It's not a game for a bar. But other than that, it's easy to teach. The flow of the game is cool. I mean, you play only 3 rounds. Each single round, you have 8 different cards, as we said already, and in the rules. And you pick only 2, so you have 2 leftovers. That's also good. And this... metagaming of, oh, you use that, you use that, you use that. That is good, but wouldn't be good with 7 or 8 people. So 2 to 5 is also a perfect number. Probably not 2. I would say 4 or 5 is probably the sweet spot.
I would agree, especially with 4 or 5, because then you're really conflicting with other people and their cards and stuff. And it's really not that hard, you know, to look over quickly at what everybody else has played and try to figure it out, or even make little deals like, I'll show you what I'm going to play, or hey, let's both agree that we're going to play this card. But especially since today when we played it, everybody had already played it once, so there was a lot more of Zevilings and Zedealings going on. But that was fun. Yeah, I mean, I really, it's a pleasant little game, you know. I liked it better than I thought I was going to, and maybe it was just because like the whole like civilization thing, and you're like, okay, been there, done that, seen that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is a really good introductory, you know, kind of Euro in terms of get stuff, try to get bigger stuff, and then, you know, because a lot of the cards are just points. But then a lot of them, especially in the beginning rounds, are things that you can use to maximize the impact of your turns in later rounds. You know, so you might get really lucky and get some things that work really well together, or that you're able just to use really well. But then you might also get stuff that comes out too late, like any other game. You might get stuff that you can't really use very much. So there's that little bit of, you know, a little bit of luck in there, and that's okay, and that's good. And then there's some really good cards that bend the rules. So like I had one where I could look at the idea card still on the deck and buy it if I had the money for it. Well, as the 5th player, and there's only 4 ideas available, that was super helpful for me, especially the very last round. Excuse me. Because Nils reminded me, oh, you can look at the card, I was last player, and I flipped it up, and I had exactly the resources for it. I was like, yes, I'll do this and get 4 more points, and it was feminism, so it's so cool. So anyway, which is kind of hilarious.
I had, for an example, the hideout, so I could play both of my cards face down, which is, I mean, honestly, it's not a big deal. Sometimes it's even good to play your card face up to make deals. But it feels so good. You're feeling so special. So this is really a feel-good game. The other one is when you don't buy an idea, you can get 2 resources of your choice. All of that flows so good, and I completely agree. When I got this box and when I opened it first, I thought, well, that's it. As a hardcore gamer, I think that's not what I want. But when I played it the first time, I thought, wow, that's smart, that's nice.
Right, because there's only 3 resources, you know, so you can quickly see what everybody else has. You can quickly see, because the cards are designed really well in terms of showing very, very clearly what you have. And there's a few little things, like in the beginning of the game, you don't really pay attention to these symbols in the corner, but then later, for some of the last ones, those symbols really matter, and that's fine too. So you can really quickly see what they have, and especially with the buying order, you're like, okay, well, you're probably going to buy this, you can't buy this, so you can still do a little bit of planning even in the last round. So it's just enough planning where you feel like you can hopefully make some good choices as long as nobody takes what you want, but also it doesn't drag it out. It's not a game where somebody can just like mathematically go through every single possibility and it takes 10 minutes. You can go through every mathematical possibility and it'll take you 30 seconds, and there's something to be said for that.
It's definitely not an AP issue in the game.
No.
So that directly leads...
Bouncy 6th graders? that's a different issue.
No, not really. So
No,
that leads me directly to fun and replayability. And I have to say, again, when I opened the box, I thought, well, that's a one-time only, one shot. But I have to say, and I have to admit, I really like it. I really like it.
Right.
And the fun, again, that's all that I had never had a feeling in any of my playtesting games, and I played it at least 3 times more than any other, not any, but most of the other games I'm playtesting. So I played it again and again and again, and I always said, hey, let's do it again. It's cool.
No, I've enjoyed this every time I played it, and the one that I'm thinking of in comparison to this was when we played Medieval Academy. And that was one where it was like, I kind of felt the same way. A gateway game for people just getting into games, could work with kids. And that one I was just kind of like, fine, whatever. Yeah, mushing stuff here, there. This one, I felt like decisions they made intuitive sense, like when you're building things, the resources that you need. I mean, it's thin, it's not super deep, but, everything sort of thematically makes enough sense in a very light sort of way. Whereas Medieval Academy, which we talked about as being a good introductory one for kids in some ways, and some kids, really enjoyed it. This one to me has the additional benefit of being a little bit meatier, while still being accessible to a beginning audience.
For me, the difference when you point out Medieval Academy is I played it, and I would say with 50% of the people, they don't liked it. They said, okay, once is enough. I don't need to play it again. Here, I had almost 100% who would say, okay, let's do it again.
Yeah.
It's not the best game ever.
No.
It's not the game you want to play every single day, and every hardcore gamer is bringing that out and say, oh, let's build the whole evening around that game. It's not that kind of a game, but it's a game that everybody enjoys.
And but for me as a teacher, where I have 45, 50-minute classes, I don't have any other games that kind of fill this sort of like, sort of economic sort of game, get resources, buy other things, so I'm definitely buying this for my classroom or stealing it from Nils. He'll donate it.
Okay, bye guys.
No, but this is one that fulfills a need that I have in my classroom, because a lot of what I have are things that are on the shorter side. So this one has the benefit of being shorter, but there's some meat there, and it's just a different way for kids to play, in a way that will probably surprise them, because they won't expect a game like this. And I think that's really good. They'll think about gaming in a different way.
I think you already have a good idea of what we would vote for on points, but let's do it like always. So should I jump out of the box, or do you want to?
I've waited a long time to watch you jump out of a box.
Alright, so yeah, for me it's definitely not a must-have, but it's definitely a recommendation. You definitely should try it and play it, and if you really like it and enjoy it like we do, why not spending 30 or 35 bucks, whatever it is. Again, you can look it online, what it is. And you will definitely play the money out of it in terms of replayability. You will definitely play this game 4, 5, 6 times, and that's more than a lot of other games you are buying. I assume.
No, I would say so. I think especially for if you're someone that goes to a lot of game nights where you have a lot of new players, I think this is a great one. I think if you like to play with your kids, I think this is a really good one for them to do. Plus, the other thing, too, is because it's all about civilization, if kids say, hey, Mom and Dad, what's postmodernism? You can say, I think someone's at the door. But if they ask you what a hideout is, then you can tell them. If they ask you what hedonism is, you say, go to bed.
I should look for your card. Give me a second.
But there are a lot of, there's my feminism card. Hey,
take a look at the picture.
It is a woman pointing to a man in pink underpants, and she has a pointer pointed very specifically somewhere. I would like to argue that feminism is not a criticism of men, but it is funny. And it is worth 4 smiley faces. So there you go. I didn't even notice the artwork. That is hilarious. So man, you and your pink underpants, get your lives together. No, I'm kidding.
Put your pants on and buy it.
Yeah. I would say, it's great to have as a game, just to 45 minutes. And the game, we'll play a little Civilization, feel all proud of yourself. Yeah, we played Civilization last night. Boom, we got done 45 minutes. People were like, dang. You're like, yeah, it's really good. So, there you go. Buy it.
Okay. Yeah, that was our view of Civilizations from Granna and Passport Game Studios. With today
Kathleen Mercury.
and Nils, as always, the German guy. And see you next time. Until then,
Ja, auf Wiedersehen.
bye.
Tschüss.